Good morning, everyone. It is the 14th of May, and Vince Clortho gifted 5 memberships to the Church of Mo, and those went to Donna Shepard, Chris Polton, Phoenix Fire, DK Cripple, and Volstorm. So, welcome to the Church of Mo. We have dark chocolate, sarcasm, and true crime. We're doing pretty good over here. Thank you, Wolfram, for all of your Modly Mod duties. Christine, good morning, and thank you so much for being a member for 18 months. You are looking great. I love your new photo. Alice G, good morning. Carol Sue Scott, good morning. Well, we have a bunch of news and craziness while we wait to see if we are having a Karen Reed day today. Now, as far as I know, the trial is going on, but who knows? Good morning, Tanny Bogard. Our first story is that the Menendez brothers are now eligible for parole after serving more than 30 years behind bars for the shotgun slaying of their parents, a judge has ruled. So there has been a lot of back and forth over the Menendez brothers the past year, whether they were going to, be given time served, whether they were going to be retried, what was going to go on with that. And it does look like California, or at least uh, they have made their kind of ruling on what's going on. Eric and Lyle Menendez will be eligible to leave prison after serving more than 30 years behind bars for the vicious unaliving of their parents, a Los Angeles judge ruled Tuesday. The judge reduced sentences for the killer siblings, who are now 54 and 57 respectively, from life without parole to 50 years to life with the possibility of parole. It will now be up to California State Parole Board and Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom to decide whether the boys deserve freedom, or not. So they've kind of kicked the can down. They have changed at least their sentencing, but it's going to be up to the parole board now and the governor. At the end of Tuesday's hearing, both brothers gave emotional accounts of the murders, which they claimed happened after years of gross abuse by Jose with Kitty's help. My choices that night robbed my parents of their full life, Eric said, who was only 18 when he shot his parents. I can only imagine the fear, pain, and trauma it caused my family. His older brother echoed the statement. I committed an atrocious act against two people who had the right to live, my mother and father, Lyle said, appearing to fight tears. I take full responsibility for my choices. I was a 21-year-old who believed that I could fix things that could not be fixed. The lawyers cross examined several other witnesses on Tuesday's hearing, including family members and one former inmate, who all insisted that Lyle and Eric had learned the error of their ways and redeemed themselves in prison. The brothers' cousin, Anne Maria Bartlett, told the court that the pair have been universally forgiven by everyone in their family and insisted they'd been fully rehabilitated. Now, I don't know about you, Eric. Look, whoever the bald one is, he creeps me out. Not gonna lie. Look, of both Menendez brothers, I think they should both have hair just for me. Look, I understand bald is beautiful, but this guy has always creeped me out. I would welcome them into my home with my family. Well, I'm glad the Menendez brothers family are welcoming them home because I have a couple questions. That being said, uh, she added that if the brothers were granted parole, they plan to work as advocates for victims of abuse. Deputy District Attorney Habib Balin argued that the brothers showed no insight by sticking to an absurd claim that they had killed their parents in self defense after years of abuse. But their lawyer, Mark Garagos, insisted the brothers have undergone full transformations. Garagos highlighted prison hospice and green space programs spearheaded by both Eric and Lyle, respectively. Rapper Ariana Brown, aka X Rated, testified about how the brothers had acted as his mentor when he was jailed for for murder and guided him through his own parole process. Great, great. Glad that they're helping other unalivers be better. He colloquially referred to the brothers' mentorship of the other inmates as Menendez University. That's also not comforting. But he questioned Brown's remorse for his own crime and joked that he had learned what he had learned from Menendez University was how to fool the parole board. In the end, Judge Michael Jessic sided with Garagos and the family members and the brothers themselves who delivered emotional statements of remorse at the end of the hearing. Now their fate lies with the state's attorney general and Newsom. So there you go. It's interesting to see. I don't know how I feel about this one. I haven't deeply delved into this case. I don't know how much validity there is to the abuse claims, although I do acknowledge that there are corroborating statements from other people that there might have been abuse there. I just I don't know how I feel about that. Jen, the couch fairy, no, I was a young Mo at the time and was watching Sesame Street, but I know my mom watched it. That being said, it would be interesting to look back on that trial and see what I felt about it now when I get a chance to breathe. Might be something I do later this year. In very sad news, tragic video is going around showing a man dangling from a fiery hot air balloon before unfortunately plummeting to his death after being able to save two of the passengers. And I may not actually, on hindsight and in better thought, YouTube would probably be pissed off if I showed a video of a man falling to his death. So it is on X under Colin Rugg if you'd like to see it. But I'm not going to be playing the video because YouTube kind of hates it when you show violence and such. A man fell to his death from a hot air balloon that went up in flames during a Mexican festival Sunday after he heroically saved the lives of two other people on board. The horrific accident was all caught on camera. Harrowing footage posted to X shows a man dangling from a rope as he became entangled in it when the basket above him in a raging, inferno floated higher and higher above the ground. The balloon is next seen glided along a sunny, bright blue sky with a desperate man, just a black dot, from a vast distance lets go and plummets to the earth below. Now, the 40-year-old man, identified only as Lucio N by the police, died in the fall, uh, ugh, according to Riviera Maya News. I regret to inform you that during the first balloon festival, part of Enrique Estrada 2025 fair, organized by the city council of this municipality, someone lost their life after an unfortunate incident while aboard a hot air balloon, Secretary General Rodrigo Reyes Mindura said. The terrifying incident began on the ground when the hot air balloon participating in the first balloon festival at the Enrique Estrada Fair caught fire with Lucio and two other passengers sitting inside. Now, he heroically leapt into action, grabbing the other two passengers out of the basket and guiding them to safety. But unfortunately, as the balloon moved, he became entangled in its lines and was lifted into the air with it. He dangled from the rope until his fatal fall, according to a local outlet. Police arrived on the scene to recover his body, and paramedics took the two injured passengers to a local hospital where they were treated for first-degree burns. Now, cops are investigating the accident and encouraged hot air balloon operators to take all safety precautions. We have asked the state attorney general's office to conduct the corresponding investigations to clarify the facts and determine responsibility. We urge all municipal authorities to strengthen their verification mechanisms to avoid these types of risks during their activities and festivals. So, this did happen in Mexico. It will be interesting to see if they come up with any sort of investigation and any reasons why this happened. And absolutely, this man is a hero. He was able to get two other people out of this and unfortunately lost his life doing so. And it's just very, very sad. Well, you got to find a way to get that money laundered. When you're running a massage parlor, what is one to do with 600K? Well, this one illicit spa owner decided to use a teddy bear because why not? Why not hide all of your them are some criminal eyebrows. Y'all, I told you I profile eyebrows and criminality. I'm not into phrenology, But I do think there was a correlation between certain eyebrow shapes and criminality, changed my mind. The owner of an illicit New Jersey spa was busted on smonstitution charges after police raided her racy business and home, seizing luxury goods, a Tesla, and a teddy bear stuffed with 600K worth of cash. I mean, yeah, I'd use a bank, but a teddy bear works too. Daniello Didendo, 47, and four other women were arrested Thursday when cops stormed Bliss Spa in Edison in a coordinated takedown following a year-long undercover operation. Now, the probe also targeted her home, where detectives say they seized $650,000 in cash, including the hefty sum sewn inside a the Tudley Koi toy, not koi, daggone it. 2025 Tesla Model Y, Rolex and Cartier watches, and a bunch of other luxury items that you probably wouldn't be making if you just ran, a normal massage parlor. I mean, I'm not a business accountant or nothing, but I would just assume that, you don't hide money in a teddy bear. Now, authorities also recovered an additional $104,375 from the spa owner's bank accounts, making it the largest asset seizure in the township's history. This operation is a direct result of the commitment and coordination between departments and agencies that have worked tirelessly to target and dismantle organized criminal operations, under the guise of limited or legitimate businesses, Edison Police Chief Tom Bryan said in a statement. The amount of cash seized and the elaborate concealment methods used show just how sophisticated and profitable these legal operations can be. We will continue our efforts to rid our community of these establishments. Police also arrested Vanessa Bosta, 30, of Massapqueth, New York, Eduardo Belfis, 26, of Newark, and Maria Palacios, 45, of Yonkers, along with Allison Cunningham, 26, of Roselle. I mean, it was a giant teddy bear. You know how many kids or how many times my kids have wanted one of these giant 6-foot high teddy bears that they sell? And I'm like, "I'm not spending $200 on a giant teddy bear that I can't wash." They were each charged with engaging or soliciting smonstitution and released on summonses. It wasn't immediately clear which role the four women played in the smonstitution ring. Uh, Dodano was hit with first-degree money laundering, second-degree promoting organizational street crime, and third-degree promoting prostitution, fourth-degree maintaining a house of prostitution. What's first-degree maintaining a house of prostitution? Like, do you have to be do you have to have, like, a Victorian house, like, from the best little hoe house in Texas? Uh 'Cause I don't know where on the Dolly Parton Madam list is, like, first degree running a house of smonstitution. I mean, what kinda house do you have to have in order for it to be first degree? I feel like we need to really figure this one out. She is being held at the Middlesex County Adult Correction Center pending a detention hearing. The spa's business license was also suspended after it was slapped with multiple health code violations. Ew, so they didn't even clean up after their smonstitution? Ew. I mean, you'd think you'd take a wet wipe or something. Ugh. The lewd joint is just the latest risque racket to close since Edison officials started cracking down on local establishments with alleged connections to smonstitution and not street legal pharmaceuticals in 2022. The initiative was launched by my administration with a clear mission to destroy the sense of safety that these illegitimate businesses have, and to bring back safety and integrity to the neighbors and commercial zones, by restoring legitimate businesses. So there you go. If you're looking to, well, money launder, maybe don't do it in, this particular county. I know, Jedi or JKD Buck, it makes me wonder what one has to do to have a really classy brothel and get first degree. Well, I wish her luck, but I mean, ma'am, it's kinda like you did something, so you are going to have to explain it to your daughter 1 year. But again, you don't have to tell your daughter for a couple of years, and there are age appropriate ways to explain that your mom was a felon, I'm sure. Or you could write a book like Mommy Was in the Clink. Gypsy Rose Blanchard sobs as she contemplates how she's going to tell baby Aurora about her past. Quote, I'm not a monster. Okay, I can sort of go with you there, but you did kind of do something which caused you to go to jail because you roped another, stunted intellectually person into stabbing your mother. So, I mean, maybe a scotch, ma'am? You're not a monster, but you did some pretty heinous things. Let's be real. I mean, you basically single-handedly masterminds your binded your abusers unaliving. I get it. I get there's nuance there, but ma'am, I'm having a hard time feeling real sorry for you because you still have your co-conspirator who is in jail for life, and you've done nothing to help him, but you've gotten off, fairly easily. On this week's episode of Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup, the 33-year-old welcomed her baby daughter, Aurora, and shared how difficult the first few days with her baby were for her and her boyfriend, Ken Urker. Now, as she begins to think how she'll explain her past to her daughter, Blanchard, a Munchausen by proxy victim who was convicted of the second-degree unaliving for her part in the brutal 2015 murder of her mother, Dee Dee, gets emotional. Quote, I know the things that I'm responsible for, such as feeding her and changing her, but also like while you guys were on lunch, I had another breakdown, Blanchard said, immediately getting teary. I'm sorry, I'm putting all this effort in, and I've been hit with the question, "How are you going to tell your daughter about what you did?" She continued sobbing, and or I just want to know that she's going to love me and forgive me for what I did in the past. I don't want her to have her mind clouded and end up hating me. Well, wait till she's 13, sweetheart. Even if you don't have a crazy, mom in your past, every teenage girl tends to get to one point in their life where it's like, I don't like you, you're stupid, and you don't say anything normal. Again, ask me how I know. You're gonna go through times where your kids aren't gonna be very sweet with you, and you're going to have to remember how you teached or how you reacted and treated your parents when you were a teen. So to a lesser extent, every mother goes through this. There will be times where your kid doesn't like you because you have to be a parent. You have to stand up and say no. So, ma'am, it happens to the best and worst of us. I am not a monster. I don't want her growing up thinking I am one, Blanchard said. You hear about families having deep, dark secrets that they have and skeletons in their closets, and kids disown them and hate them, grow up resenting them, and I just don't want that to be the case for us. Elsewhere in the episode, Blanchard shares that becoming a mother to her daughter made her realize just how awful her own mother was to her. I feel like I'm getting my own ideas about what a mother is by the emotions I feel for my daughter. I mean, I didn't realize how much it was going to affect me until I had her and I was holding her. And then I started to realize, wow, I truly understand now how wrong it was, how wrong I was for having my mom do this to me. So, so again, yes, I don't know. I want her to have a good life, but I don't know how ready she was for parenthood. That being said, I was a moronic, 20-year-old, 20 something when I had my first child, and we survived. So, ma'am, don't worry about what's going to happen in years and years from now. Work on yourself, make yourself the best person you can be, and that will translate to you being the best mom that you can be. I hope that she has a lot of people helping her out because I see this if she doesn't have support, I see this ending in a train wreck. So I hope that she is getting support and help because she wasn't given a blueprint of how even semi-normal families go around. So, as much as this is a sticky widget sort of conversation, I'm rooting for her, but I'm worried, y'all, like, all the worried. That being said, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my ticket to so I'll keep her in my, thoughts and prayers and her daughter, but I'm not gonna spend my entire life, paying attention to Gypsy Rose Blanchard, mostly because I think of her as Gypsy Rose Lee. That being said, I love that particular musical, even if it was, well, when you look at it, objectively, Gypsy Rose, Lee or Gypsy, the musical was about a mother pimping out her daughter, so she could become famous. Anywho, that's neither here nor there. Now let's get to Lord Chippy as I go on about the musicals that I like with, well, interesting backstories. Let's bring Lord Chippy up and get some, well, just degenerates out of here.
They're our skin, they steal our grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
And our first one we have by the power vested in the Church of Mo, and this here highlighter, I have excommunicated you from the women lady thing. You are now a female, and ew, just ew. I have consigned you as a dumpster trash human. Quote, hate him more and more. A woman who kept a 12-year-old, her stepson, in a prolonged, not, look, I'm not going to say that, but a torture camp until he died of sepsis learns her fate. Well, I'm hoping it's to be turned over to the family of the child and or me, because I'm okay with a little table flipping, revenge. Table flipping Jesus is my favorite Jesus. And in fact, you guys, I think we might need final form Jesus. So I'm going to go ahead and show you or let you guys in on our new opening for that one.
The key keep its grove, thou glowing shrine of thirst traps, scams, and dollar signs. We chant in tones both grim and low, for virtue fled a long time ago. Kyrie eleison, Christe descendat, final form Jesus return in wrath. With six-pack glistening sword in hand, he cometh swift to cleanse the land.
Final form Jesus with your glistening six pack. I'm going straight to hell for that one. But not as far as this chick, so at least there are standards. I'm hoping there's a different wing of hell for those of us who are just, well, ish posters and then real monsters. Like I said, I'm only aiming for purgatory, so final form Jesus and Lord Chippy unite for this chick. A Utah woman who pled guilty to first-degree unaliving of her 12-year-old stepson faced a juror judge to hear her sentence. Now, Nicole Lee Scott, 50, entered a guilty plea to the first-degree unaliving of Gavin Peterson, 12, who died of sepsis, malnutrition, and other illnesses in July 2024. Now, Scott initially pled not guilty, but then changed her plea after the boy's father, Shane Pearson, 47, and brother, Tyler Pearson, 22, entered guilty. So all of these absolute jackasses got together. So the dad was in on it too. You entire family of degenerates. I hope that why couldn't your family have been on the Titanic and, Rose pushed them off the door like a donkey kick, like the end of or the middle of 300 where he Spartan kicks a chick? Like, or a dude from Xerxes, like that is what I wish. Just so it was the father, the stepmom, and the older brother. Just a family-sized, ride into the center of the sun. Now, Scott adjudicated abuse of her son was laid out by prosecutors in court on Monday as she awaited her sentence from Second District Court Judge Camille Nider. KSL, a local NBC affiliate, was in the courtroom and reported that Nider told the defendant, "Sometimes people sit in that chair, and I want to, as they go off to prison, say, 'Do your best because some point you're going to get out.' A glimmer of hope, a ray of hope, something for you to hold on to as you'll be going to prison. Truthfully, I'm not going to be that ray of hope for you. I don't know that you'll get out, and frankly, I hope that you won't." The judge sentenced Scott to up to a lifetime behind bars. While Scott avoided a trial by taking a plea, she still sat while prosecutors described the horrific treatment of Gavin at the hands of his own family members, specifically his stepmother. Now, according to prosecutors, the boy was kept in a bare room with no carpeting and forced to stay in a spot marked by blue tape out of a box less than 3 feet long and 3 feet wide. He was watched by cameras constantly while in his room and forced to wear a diaper since he wasn't allowed out of there. The Salt Lake Tribune reported on the charging documents that described some sort of security footage of Gavin, including him curled up on a carpetless floor without any bedding or blankets and often in a saturated diaper. He was fed one half a glass of water a day and a piece of bread with mustard. What in the Shanda Vanda Ark ridiculousness? You know what? I swear I wish I had. Look, when I am an empress and I am going to round up all the, swamp puppies from Florida, and I'm gonna send these people to the swamp puppies. I'm about done with this. These people just ew. Prosecutors then said while Karen Love was showed toward other children in the house, the only images or videos of Gavin were of him locked up in that cell, laying in a dirty diaper, covered in wounds and waste. The only text messages regarding Gavin were of how much Scott hated him and how terrible he was, and what she and the other co defendants were going to do to him next. One such text was read in court, a text message where Scott exchanged with the father, Shane Peterson, March 2023, that after she told Gavin's school nurse that his fingers were showing symptoms of an infection, Scott texted the boy's father. "He does this expletive stuff for attention. I expletive hate it. It makes me hate him even more and more." Prosecutors say that at the time those messages were sent, Gavin was 11 years old. He was taken out of school following that incident, and less than a month later, Nicole and Shane removed Gavin from the public eye. School personnel had begun to report signs of CA to the Utah Division of Child and Family Services, so the parents apparently made sure the school personnel could no longer see him. On the day Gavin Peterson died, July 9th, 2024. I hate these people so very much. Just so very much. Scott lied to the police regarding events of that day and delayed getting help for the boy after finding him unresponsive. Court documents obtained by local Fox affiliate KSTU stated that she called 911 and reported that her stepson had been ill for a couple days, experiencing vomiting, but now he wasn't breathing. Now, in court, prosecutors said that upon finding Gavin in such dire state, Scott first texted his father, Shane, to tell him his son wasn't breathing. She also spoke to the phone or with him on the phone for more than 11 minutes. So he's not breathing, and then for 11 other minutes, just jack your jaw, you absolute cahoon. Now, before calling 911, she and Tyler Peterson hid all of the surveillance cameras, removed other items from the room, and removed and replaced a doorknob in an effort to mislead the police and hide the abuse, isolation, and neglect that had been happening in the home. 21 minutes transpired between Scott finding out that Gavin Peterson was not responding to her calling 911. Now, the boy's cause of death was reportedly complications from sepsis and T-Rex trucking. Good morning. This dad, I think the wood chipper would be nice for him. Allegedly in Minecraft. Yeah, all three of them can go in together. It's a family discount for Lord Chippy. I never thought I'd have to have a full family damn discount for Lord Chippy, but y'all want Final Form Jesus. This is how Final Form Jesus takes off. Because thank you so much, T-Rex trucking. His body had shown signs of starvation and other severe, untreated physical wounds. Nider sentenced Scott to 15 years to life in prison for first-degree murder, two sentences, one of 15 years for second-degree aggravated CA, two sentences of 1 to 15 years for second-degree obstruction of criminal charges, and up to 5 years for third-degree child endangerment. Also 364 days for the possession or use of a controlled substance. As part of the plea agreement, the sentences are to be served consecutively. No, they need to be now consecutively is correct. So, while she did get a plea and while Utah is a bit nebulous on their sentencing because I think they have, like, a yearly board that considers the sentence, it's the same reason, Ruby Frankie and, Hilderbeest got, 1 to 15 years. That being said, all of these are going to have to be served consecutively. So for whatever they decide for first-degree unaliving, she's gonna have to serve that entire sentence, then go on to the next sentence, and the next sentence, and the next sentence, which let me look here. Nope, can find no dams to give about that, although Utah, could you bring back the DP and not the fun one, because I know you guys don't want the fun DP, but could you bring back the government-sanctioned DP? Because that would be great. Just absolute gross people. I hope Gen Pop doesn't learn, ma'am. You know what's funny is male, female prisons, they both don't like people that hurt and torture children. Good luck. Bon voyage, bitch. I hope you drop the soap. What in the name of all that is shady created the Reddit account? A reporter fabricated abuse claims against parents of a missing teen that interfered with the search, prosecutors say. Well, what a case of you can't hate the media enough. The case of missing Arizona teenager became even more complicated by the actions of a local reporter who allegedly spread false claims about the boy's parents. Molly K. Ottman, 50, was indicted by a grand jury on charges of obstruction of a criminal investigation and fraud schemes, according to a press release by the Navajo County Attorney's Office. A release stated that the charges came down on May 6th in the midst of an investigation into a missing teenager, Jarrett Brooks, 18, who was last seen on July 4th, 2023, when he was 16 years old. Ottman was employed by the local newspaper, the Mountain Daily Star, and allegedly alerted authorities after the teen went missing that social media posts alluded to SA between Brian Brooks and a minor child, per an attorney's office. Now, Brian Brooks is the father of Jarrett Brooks, and Ottman allegedly told the police that a Reddit account posted those messages and that belonged to the missing boy's father. Now, according to prosecutors, Ottman contacted the Navajo County Sheriff's Office about the post in October 2023. Investigators then dedicated their resources into looking into the parents of the missing teen, including the search of the Brooks family home and a private investigator whom Brooks had employed to help them find their son. Both the prosecutor's office and the sheriff's office ultimately determined that it was allegedly Ottman herself who was behind the Reddit post, and that she claimed to have belonged to Brian Brooks, having created the Reddit accounts and fraudulent post herself. Navajo County Attorney Brad Carleon released a statement. A 16-year-old boy was missing, and all of law enforcement's energy and resources should have been able to remain focused strictly on that search for the young man. Diverting attention, resources, and time to fabricated evidence creates unwarranted distractions during time-sensitive investigations. Now, the State 48 News, a local online outlet, reached out to Ottman, who denies the claims, saying it's absolutely untrue, it will not be a guilty plea, and it's absolutely not true. She told the outlet that she was still employed by the Mountain Daily Star. Ottman covered Jarrett Brooks's disappearance, writing in January 2024 that, quote, social media groups have been very active with speculations about what is going on with the Jarrett Brooks case. She also covered and photographed the Brooks homes, while it was being, searched because of the search warrant that she basically created allegedly. Now, the Daily Mail spoke to Brian Brooks after the Ottman incident was announced, who told the outlet, "We had a sit-down meeting with the sheriff, and has not once said he's sorry." He also said that he's still the subject of unfounded internet conspiracy theories. According to the Daily Mail, the private investigator the Brooks family had employed, Harder Investigations, used to employ Ottman until she was quote unquote let go. Now, the Daily Mail noted that Brian Brooks and his wife, Lauren Brooks, the missing boy's mother, have previously been convicted of SMEX crimes. Well, okay, never mind. Maybe we should be looking at this man's house. They were accused of engaging in sexual activities in front of teenage babysitters and giving them alcohols to get them to try to join them, which both teens declined. Now, Brian Brooks was subsequently jailed and lost his job as the local fire chief, while Laura Brooks pled guilty to 3 of the counts and was also jailed, although her time behind bars was punctuated by weekdays at work. Yet Jarrett Brooks was last seen on the morning of July 4th, 2023. Now, according to prosecutors, he was reported as a runaway after his parents had grounded him. So, I don't know. I will have to look more into this case. Let me write it down. Now it is on my, I'm writing it down on my notebook of things not to forget, but let's be real. I will probably forget until I remember. Ottman and Brooks. And Arizona. Why am I not surprised? All right. I will have to look more into this story because this is sounding all the cray cray. Well, we have a cockfight. It's just not ever the one you want. It's a peacock fight. See, YouTube, don't get mad at me. I was just saying the anatomical thing. Bok bok, you next. A confrontation with men harassing peacocks leads to a shooting and a prison sentence. I don't know who needs to hear this, but never mess with another man's peacock. It started with the threat of "Bok, bok, bok, you next." After a confrontation about harassing a flock of peacocks in Portland, Oregon, a neighborhood known for the colorful birds. It ended with a shooting, and now a man headed to prison. I mean, who knew? A judge on Thursday sentenced Dylan Levi Rhodes, 25, to 90 months or 7.5 years behind bars after he pled guilty to attempted second-degree unaliving on Thursday for the September 29th, 2023 shooting. The Monmouth County District Attorney's Office said in a press release that the victim was leaving his wife and kids at home to head to work when he saw 2 men pestering peacocks across the street. He asked them to stop. The men, including Rhodes, responded in a threatening manner, saying, "Bok, bok, bok, you next. We can bang right now." Okay, in a story laden with cock references, perhaps bang right now is not the thing I would say, but there you go. A plethora of peacocks are known to roam the southeast Portland neighborhood, spreading their feathers in driveways and even relaxing atop cars. They've been doing so for years. The neighborhood lore is some years ago, someone had some peacocks and they kept hassling him, and he said, "Fine, I'll let them all loose." The neighbor lore told, so this is the neighborhood lore kind of told to NBC affiliate KGW amid the squawking peafowls. No one actually takes care of them, but we all sort of look after them a bit. That's apparently what happened in the day on question. After the confrontation, the victim went back into his home and waited for the men to drive away. Once they did so, he hopped in his car and started driving, but it turned out that the men hadn't left the area and were simply waiting for him to, get into his car, and they kind of parked their car at a nearby intersection. Rhodes fired 5 shots from the driver's seat, hitting the victim's car several times. Now, the bullets grazed the victim, but he was not seriously injured, thanks in part to the heavy-duty driver's seat, which stopped one of the shots. Cops used Ring camera footage to identify the suspect's vehicle, which they found a couple of days after the shooting. In addition to attempted murder, the defendant also pled guilty to unlawful use of a firearm and resolved 8 different cases against him. This defendant had a clear pattern of escalating dangerous criminal behavior, and he was repeatedly released after being arrested for his earlier crimes. Deputy District Attorney Eric Palmer, who prosecuted the case, I believe the system failed here, but failed both the victims and the defendant. I really give two flying flapjacks about the defendant. He tried to unalive a man over peacocks and not being a dick. He was simply told, like, hey, don't be a dick. And this guy's like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be even bigger dick. So I don't care about the defendant being failed by the criminal justice system. But it's Portland, so there you go. Well, it was peacock envy. I suffer from it greatly. Well, we might have found Noah's Ark, so that's something. Noah's Ark site has been fully preserved and secrets discovered in radar scans by scientists, not what you expect to see. Well, let's see. I mean, I don't know how you look at that and see an ark, but okay. I'm willing to listen. American researchers claim to have cracked one of the Bible's most enduring mysteries after using radar technology to map the possibility of the remains of Noah's Ark. It's exactly what you would expect to find if it were a man made boat, consistent with the biblical specifications of Noah's Ark. Andrew Jones, an independent researcher, told the Christian Broadcasting Network, or CBN, while revealing the groundbreaking results of his multi year project. Now, Jones works with the Noah's Ark Scan company, which he described as a loose organization of individuals interested in pursuing scientific work and promoting the site of the Ark. Jonas and his team were attempting to solve the age-old question of where the legendary vessel is, buried in the mountains of eastern Turkey, roughly 18 miles south of Mount Ararat, which the Bible describes as the boat's final resting place. The exact spot is on the Durhampinar site, a 538-foot-long boat-shaped mound. I mean, this doesn't look boat-shaped to me, but I mean, okay. I mean, it looks more lady bitch shaped to me, if I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. And but if they see a boat, maybe it's like one of those magic picture things that they used to have in the early 90s at the mall, and if you cross your eyes long enough, you'd see a giraffe or a sailboat. Well, this or with the same book of Genesis described dimensions as the ark, said to have saved humanity and animals alike from a catastrophic flood more than 4,300 years ago. Now, while the idea that this area houses the legendary life raft, an object central to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, the topic of dispute, it is a topic of dispute. Recent scans appear to indicate that that could be the case. Jones used ground-penetrating radar to detect what appeared to be a 13-foot tunnel traversing the center of the formation. These same scans captured a trifecta of subterranean layers that were allegedly dead ringers for the biblical description of the boat's 3 decks. In other words, it was literally ship shape. We'll see. The book of Genesis 16 states, make a roof for the ark and finish it a cubit above, set the door in the side of the ark, make it with lower and second and third decks. Meanwhile, new analysis of the radar data allegedly revealed a central and side corridor or walkways running through the boat. Given the age of the alleged vessel, Jones says he doesn't expect to find anything fully preserved, claiming that the remains could constitute a chemical imprint, pieces of wood and ground in the shape of the hull. They also uncovered angular structures situated about 20 feet behind or beneath the surface that the team surmises could have been, quarters beneath beneath a deck-like surface, making its potential more than just a geological formation, as many scientists have posited. So, that being said, I don't know. There's a lot that needs to happen before I'm going to believe that this is in fact the Ark, even though it is dimensionally related. Mostly because, honest to goodness, I don't know that wood could last that long. And if we're going to be honest with it, there are some preceding civilizations who also had great flood myths. I mean, is it the boat that's Gilgamesh's? No offense to anyone. I am a Christian. I'm just not sure that this is the Ark. I'm a doubting Thomas of sort. So if they if they start, layering it down and we actually find the place where, Noah put like the stinky animals, I'll be fine. So, executive decision, it did look like the most votes were, between either today being Aunt Bev or tomorrow, but since tomorrow is a full free day and or Friday and, today, since Friday, I am fully free to adult real White Claw breathe or drink. That's kind of where I went for the Auntie Bev Cape Day. Hopefully, we have it because tomorrow I have physical therapy, so I wanted to give you guys a full Bev day. So, Bev, Cape Bev in all of her glory will be here Friday, including when I'm over on Shizzy's channel. So, it will be a full Bev at the Cape all today, or Bev Friday. So there you go. We might have found the Ark, we might not, who knows? And it could only happen to me or people who spell just as badly as me. A man was wrongly arrested for this a second time over a misspelling of his name. A man was wrongly arrested twice and spent the night in jail over a stolen boat with an emergency dispatcher misspelling his name. The Western Australian Corruption and Crime Commission blasted the actions of WA police in a report about two incidents involving a man named Mark Smith, so an obvious pseudonym, Mark spelled with a C, but whose name was entered as Mark Smith, Mark spelled with a K, in the police system. A person called to report a man who was stealing a boat about the same time the alleged offender phoned emergency services to report he felt threatened by the boat owner and request police assistance in January 2023. The phone dispatcher misspelled the alleged offender's name as Mark with the K, not the C, attaching it to an outstanding breach of bail and arrest warrant for another person. When police arrived, they took statements from the pair but did not check the alleged offender's name or address, and he was found in possession of a public transport smart rider card that belonged to someone else. He was arrested on suspicion of stealing a boat, possessing a stolen smart rider, and having an outstanding warrant, also then taken back to the police station. The man saw his name was written down incorrectly and tried to tell officers, but they did not check, and he was not asked to confirm any other details. His fingerprints were taken, but did not match the outstanding arrest warrant, and the officers never confirmed the prints. Because of the outstanding warrant, police refused to set bail, and he spent a night in lockup. Now, the following day in court, a magistrate picked up the error and noted that the man had been wrongfully detained and dismissed the charges. But 3 months later, he was arrested again at the same damn police station. The man was seeking help when an officer entered the incorrect spelling of his name into the police system. The officer then saw a photo of the man attached to the other Mark's outstanding warrant, and he was arrested a second time and detained again in lockup for the same old warrant that wasn't his. The man told officers that this was the second time he has been wrongfully detained over the incorrect spelling of his name and was released after police made a few further, they're like, "Sir, this guy is saying this is not him." And they're like, "Oh, crap, not again." Police conducted a criminal investigation into the first incident and found that there was insufficient evidence to lay charges for deprivation of liberty, but the corruption watchdog, questioned that decision. The WACCC found that police investigations were inadequate, resulting in a vulnerable man wrongfully spending an entire night at police or in police custody. The gravity of this should be considered or appropriately from the start. This matter could have been avoided if the officers had undertaken basic checks on the information. Failure to follow basic procedure is concerning. The WA police spokesperson said that the force always strives to do its best for the community. However, they have accepted they don't always get it right. Then in this instance, following internal investigations, 3 officers received sustained managerial outcomes. What the hell is a sustained managerial outcome? They get to be a manager now? Our agency and our officers are dealing with roughly 1.5 million calls for help every year, but we accept that even one mistake is one too many. No, it was 2 mistakes. You done tried to lock up the man twice. But okay, sure, it's just a mistake as per usual. And our final story, because I thought we needed a little bit of hope and faith in humanity. Now, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, this one almost made me cry, so have your tissues ready. A hero 10-year-old heart transplant patient pays it forward to save 2 other toddlers in the same day, so all 3 of them survived, which is great. It started with the single gift of a heart and ended up with 3 lives transformed. Doctors at New York Presbyterian Morgan Stanley Children's Hospital performed an extremely rare series of surgeries on the same day in July that changed 3 children's lives forever. A heart from a deceased donor was transplanted into 10-year-old Hend Al-Smafari, who paid it forward by then providing her pulmonary valve to John Castellotto, 2, and her aortic valve to Teddy Carter, who is 3. Now thriving, all kids reunited at the hospital in February, where Hend surprised her heart brothers with gifts and is a moment that their families will never forget. You see these kids interacting, and you know people are good, John's mother, Joanne Dowling, told the Post. We can never come up with a gift for her. What can you buy someone who gave your child the gift of life? Dowling was 24 weeks pregnant when she found out her unborn child had trunctus arteriosclerosis, a condition in which instead of having 2 exits from the heart, one going to the body and the other going to the lungs, he only had one hole and a hole in his heart. She and her husband, Thomas, were immediately referred to New York Presbyterian. This was our first child together, and it took a drastic turn. It felt like everything was obliterated from that moment forward. I don't even know how to describe it other than your pregnancy is no longer your pregnancy. You're just scared from that point forward, but the team made it so very seamless. She never considered terminating. I loved John from the moment I found out I was pregnant with him. I knew the doctors at New York Presbyterian could fix him. And if anyone could fix him, it would be them. He had open heart surgery when he was only 5 days old, and while it went well, it was difficult to accept that he would continue to need to have surgeries his entire life. The artificial valve doesn't grow. So as he gets older and his heart matures, he would have to have frequent surgeries to replace the mechanical or artificial valve because it simply doesn't grow with the heart. So when she found out about the possibility of a heart transplant, they were hopeful. It was almost like there was light at the end of the tunnel for him. It was comfort to us to know that John may never need another open heart surgery, and we may never have to hand our child over to a surgeon again. In July, she grabbed a cup of coffee in the afternoon when she got the call that they had a match. Hend would be getting her own brand new heart, but was donating the perfectly usable pulmonary valve from her old one to their son. Things moved quickly after that. Catalado raced home from a trip to the beach and was on the phone with Dr. Andrew Gladstone, a surgical doctor in the pediatric heart transplant team at New York Presbyterian, to discuss the procedure. They were like, "This is what we do for the living, right? This is what we go to work to do every day." So it was kind of, like They pumped wind to our sails and they kept up the level of connection. At 5 a.m. then the following day, they came to the hospital feeling scared and confused, but they knew that John was in good hands. It was so sunny that day, and John was in his pajamas, and I just looked at him and thought, "Buddy, you don't even know." He had no clue, and the hospital staff was just so kind. Even though John was only 18 months old at the time, Dowling said the doctors didn't make it traumatizing to him. They made it fun for him. So I'm really glad that the hospital took those steps. Now, the other little boy, Teddy, was 2 months old when he was diagnosed with a heart attack, or I'm sorry, a heart defect called aortic stenosis, which can block or restrict blood flow from the heart. We were totally surprised. His mother said it was really scary to have a child who needs pretty immediate open heart surgery, and it's certainly something that no parent wants to go through. So we were lucky to live near to New York Presbyterian. This type of surgery, in which one donor's heart is used to benefit multiple recipients, is called split root domino heart transplant, and it's pretty uncommon. A split root domino partial heart transplant is extremely rare and has only been performed by a handful of surgeons and hospitals. We were uniquely positioned to perform domino transplants and split root dominoes because of the surgical team and expertise in all aspects of cardiovascular disease and transplantation. So, again, just a happy story where all of these kids now have a life because she received a new heart and the pieces of her heart that weren't damaged went into these little boys. So, what a wonderful, wonderful gift for the first initial person who gave their heart after their life, for this young woman to give pieces of her heart that worked to these little boys. It's just a good story. And I'm so glad that all of these families are doing well and these kids now have a future. And we need some of that sometimes, in this crazy world when I do nothing but Lord Chippy, bites and bits. We need some of this. So pay it forward is always a great thing. Remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because you never know who's going to try to touch your peacock. Bye, you guys.